GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. On Fridays we get together to wrap up the week, take a look at the things that have happened throughout the week. We're going to do that over on Substack, which is buzzing around behind this little dude, behind our co-host. That's what we'll be taking a look at over there. And as you can see, we've got this show. In addition, we've got all the other places we post it, and then we've got all the different things that we'll be taking a look at today that we'll be doing with a screen share here, so you don't have to look at it behind the puppy. So we do this live on Fridays. We like to say thanks to the people that join us live. We'll be saying hey to them in a minute here. And we've been adding some new things to the show. I'm looking forward to some feedback. I've got a bunch of fans going. It's super hot here, and this guy stinks, so we're trying to blow the air around here. But if I got too many fans going, let me know. In fact, there's a fan right over there that might be blowing right on the thing. All right, so with that being said, I think foul territory might be over. Let's post this thing on the other screen here and get started. As soon as I find the right screen. There we go. All right. So again, everything that we're going to be talking about today is in the description of this video here on YouTube. However, the video on YouTube, or the description in YouTube here, is pretty bland. So we post it in a newsletter. We post it on the Patreon, our blog, and we post it on Substack. And that's what we're taking a look at here, is our Substack. Let's see if we can't get the little picture up here, since Puppy's hanging out. He won't be here all night. He doesn't like hanging out all night, but he is the little baby co-host. I do have peanut butter Nutro crunches. So anybody that super chats today, as part of that super chat, we will feed a baby puppy. So a lot of other super chats out there, a lot of other chats that do super chats, they don't even feed no puppies when you do a super chat. Here, we feed a little baby. So feel free to super chat. You're not obligated, of course, but if you feel like it, little baby puppy will be fed. All right, so we're going to be taking a look at the Patreon over here. Again, you can take a look at this we're going to be taking a look at the Substack, sorry. You can take a look at this over on Patreon, though. You can take a look at this on the newsletter, and we have all that stuff right at the top over here. All right, we'll dig in. So a lot of stuff going on this week. I don't know what everyone's opinion is. Oh, actually, I will find out what everybody's opinion is, because we'll really quick like. I don't know. What was that noise? Oh, actually. We'll say thanks to Gizzard for everybody jumping over here from his chat. Those who came over, looks like Gizzard gave us the old recommended follow there. Appreciate it. So how was this week for 2A? And we always started off with great week for 2A. And then if you want to answer, actually let's get this space in there also. If you want to answer good, that'll work without the T. And then if you want to answer okay. Okay, it looks like I got the T in there. And then if you want to answer bad, you can do that too. Now you feel free to answer that question. Let's see. So we got G23 showing up. Thanks for jumping in and starting the chat going. So with that, this is from G23, the little puppy. Thank you very much. Ron Wayne is also out there. Smooth, not a single issue. I don't know what you're talking about. So good to hear. And there's a little mushroom burrito right here. The monkey was eating a mushroom burrito, and then he was struck by lightning, and then this little dog happened. That's the story. All right, so with that, we'll let everybody keep chatting, and feel free to vote out there. There's a poll going. This is being simulcasted, so if you're listening to this on the Daily Gun Show side, then you'll need to jump over to the main side for that. I'll throw a link in here for you to vote. But feel free to watch on whatever side you want. That's why we have it on 2 channels. Also, so that it stays out on 2 channels. Some people will watch this thing on the big people channel, but people that are paying attention to the podcast will see it on the other channel. All right. So with that, this is National Shooting Sports Month. August each year, it's National Shooting Sports Month. Effort to get awareness of the shooting sports. It sounds like you're about a year away from the Olympics, so that's that time of year, I guess, for the international competitions. I noticed we talked about it on the Instagram show a couple weeks back, but the U.S. shooting sports are not funded by the government. So anybody that's interested in our national or international teams, support of our international shooting teams is something that you could be involved in. Lots of different ways. All right, so we've got a couple of good things in the news, a couple of not so good things. We'll start with the good news. So we have a challenge to the ban on butterfly knives in Hawaii happened this month, or this week, I guess. So a lot of news about, or some people paying attention to that. Tennessee, well, okay, and that was about the only good thing. Well, I guess there's some other good stuff. I didn't do a good job. I kind of shuffled the good and bad in here. So another good thing that's happening this week is the Armed Women of America is having their national conference and leadership summit. We've got a video. Actually, we'll take a second because that's important enough to jump over to Instagram real quick and use it as a window into Missouri. So in Branson, Missouri, I don't know how many, but lots of ladies are getting together to join up at that national conference. I probably should have posted an alert about this over on the Instagram. And I just saved something from Cheryl Todd in the list here that shows what their event looks like. And is this it? Give you an idea how the event looks and who all is involved. I can't listen to the music, but it's Cyndi Lauper. It's a Cyndi Lauper song that you could probably imagine what it is. So Cheryl insists on doing everything vertical, which is fine. And you get an idea of the scale of the Branson facility. I don't know what facility this is. It probably said right there. And then going through the different convention centers, boom. And this is the portion of the convention center that's the Armed Women of America. And you can see there's some organizations around the side here and some tables in the center for when they get the big gathering going. Oh, there's the Bass Pro, so I know where this is. I didn't know there was a big building over there, but I know where the Bass Pro is, if it's the one with the NRA museum in it. All right, so that gives you an idea of the Armed Women of America National Conference and Leadership Summit. So unlike the Girl with a Gun, which will happen, did it already happen or is it about to happen? I think it already happened in Colorado, or it's about to. I'm trying to keep track now. But the Girl and a Gun will happen outdoors at a range in a much different type of situation than this Armed Women of America's National Conference. So this will be going on through the 14th. So it's kind of happening right now. All right, so then we have potential. So it's not good news, it's not bad news. It's bad news if we sit around and observe, but it's good news if we're looking for opportunities to act and accomplish. So, how do you look at history? Is it a bunch of stuff that happened, or is it a bunch of stuff that people acted on? Is it a bunch of stuff that people took opportunities and did something with them, and now we read the results of that, the consequences of it? That's pretty much history, right? So if you want to be part of history, act, be part of the things that create results, right? So the Tennessee is going to have a special session on the 21st. Tennessee is one of those states that think their shit don't stink and that nothing's going to happen to them because they're a horizontal state without a panhandle. But I'll tell you what, it looks like they got all kinds of little subtle gun control stuff happening. Tentacles weeding their way in there, and what's his face, the billionaire, threw a bunch of money over there. So it's got a bunch of people excited, and that'll either be an opportunity for us to flex, to come together and show what happens when people get together, or we'll see another Oregon, another Washington, another Massachusetts, another New Jersey. I don't think the story's told. I think that's something that we're going to see. So pay attention to that. That's happening this month. There's a link to legislatures if you want to make your opinion known. I'm sure we're going to see more and more people who are going to suggest that they're super interested in this. We've got a lot of people in Tennessee. Let's see. Then we got Goal, Massachusetts is getting whaled on right now, or at least they've got a bunch of stuff happening that's trying to whale on them. And this is the results of that Second Amendment infringement being halted temporarily while the politicians who created it all, the bill 4420, while they regroup and figure out what to do with it. So in Massachusetts, while there's a moment of rest or a moment of time to regroup, they're doing just that. And they've got a celebration. They're calling it a 2A freedom celebration, a rally, so to speak, happening at a place called Quincy. From what I understand, it was named after the TV show. Quincy, Massachusetts, at some kind of hotel there from 1 to 5 p.m. on a Sunday. So you could show up in Massachusetts and show your support for the challenge to the infringements that are looming in Massachusetts right now. Okay, so we've got some good National Shooting Sports Month. We've got Hawaii and butterfly. I should bring a butterfly knife over here. Let's take a moment and flip over to this. Come on. How about you actually do what I'm telling you to do, robot? And then click over here and let's take another moment to think about how you could support what we're doing here and maybe get this dog some treats.
Hey, did you know that you could help support our future projects and let everyone know you're a fan of what we do? Check out our print-on-demand store. We have a tab here on YouTube. When you click on it, you can choose from a bunch of different items. We have shirts and posters and coffee mugs. Click on the one you like. When you find the design you want to put on it, choose a color and a size if it's appropriate. And when you purchase these items, a portion goes to help fund our future projects. We really do appreciate your support. You get some cool stuff. When you get that stuff, post pictures here and on other platforms, and we'll hook you up next time you order from our Gear website store. Thank you for your support of gunwebsites.com.
Dang it, my really good butterfly knife, I think I lost. That sucks. So butterfly knives are legal in Hawaii. This dog likes butterfly knives. He's got one right here that he's sniffing right now. So, in honor of Hawaii, we'll be flipping around a butterfly knife tonight around this dog, which is probably not dangerous or anything. See, he likes to stick his nose in things. That's how his nose got chopped off. He's always sniffing knives. So if I had my good knives, I'd be able to grab a cool Made in USA butterfly knife out. But for now, we'll go with that one. All right. So again, we've got the good news, some medium news, some potential, right? Some other potential here. Do those states touch each other? No. But they're only a state away from each other, I think, depending on how you get to each other. Wait, are they? Are they just Pennsylvania touches both of them? I'm not sure. Then you got, I guess we skipped down all of this. So then we have the U.S. Supreme Court chiming in on the Fifth Circuit Court and making everything probably part of the overall plan when the two Republican-backed gun controls happened last year. Part of that plan was to create confusion and hide in definitions and similar wording and very, very long titles for things. So the frame and receiver rule went down at the same time as the bump stock. No, it didn't. It went down at the same time as the pistol brace. There we go. So both of those were comment periods that were almost simultaneous, and then they were enacted simultaneously as an attempt to use the executive branch to create law or to enforce procedures that weren't ever created as law. So, because they're trying to create new types of law enforcement by not actually having laws, but deciding what laws could mean and then enforcing that, the Supreme Court got involved at the court system got involved at the circuit court level, and the Fifth Circuit Court with the Garland case said, no, bump stocks are, oh wait, we're talking about frames of receivers. So at the Fifth Circuit Court, right, they said, I think it was the Fifth, they said something about frames of receivers. I'm trying to remember the frames of receivers decision. That one, wait, am I getting these two mixed up? I'm probably getting these two mixed up. So let's start over. The U.S. Supreme Court voted on the frame or receiver one, and the result is it allows the ATF to continue enforcing the frame or receiver BS, which is BS and is unconstitutional. It now needs to be heard by the Supreme Court or drop to the Fifth again. I think that's how it works. So it gets confusing, and eventually we'll work on having Every Second Matters be a scoreboard for this type of stuff. But till then, you get these little summaries, and if anybody knows a more concise, useful summary of what's going on, let me know, and I'll just start pointing to that, because this is really time-consuming and frustrating to keep up with each week, although the goal is to make it less time-consuming and easier for everybody in the long run. So if somebody's already doing this, though, let's not waste effort. Next up is Illinois, or they like to pronounce it Illinois. Their Supreme Court voted to uphold their assault weapons ban and the magazine ban. Frustrating for sure. And now I'm not sure what happens there. I think that goes to somebody else has to sue them for district or circuit court. Not sure. I mentioned that let's see, we got the Democrats introducing 1,000% excise tax. So it's up to you. I mean, I put it in the news because it is a thing. It happens every year, and it gets denied every year. It's a ridiculous one. The only thing good about it is it's an opportunity to talk about different types of conversations about how their concepts are ridiculous and how they're not useful. But really, what we're also it's an opportunity for you to start to see how often people are willing to talk about news of the day rather than long-term success. If you only look at news of the day, you're always going to have a job because there's always news of the day. If you worry about long-term success, it's a tougher conversation. Fewer people are going to be jumping to hear that. And when and if you are successful, when or if you are successful, it's over. So you don't have a job anymore. So not a lot of people pursue that one. But where are we going to spend our time? Worrying about things that get reintroduced every single year and have no time on the clock. Everybody gets a thumbnail. Everybody gets a video. Everybody gets another paycheck this week. Or are we working on the things that would give us, are we working on the fights that would give us the ability to fight better? So, being aware of these things as they happen are great, but we've got a lot of potential up here right now. Is Tennessee going to go down and we're all just going to listen to news of the week when it goes down? Or are we going to start seeing what's happening in Massachusetts, apply that to Washington, Oregon, get stronger and better so that this stuff can't happen in Tennessee? There was a time when it wouldn't be possible to even suggest this in Tennessee. And then kind of push that towards California would be my suggestion. All right, so that's after. So let's not forget that Democrats are the ones doing this. So a lot of people will, especially the liberal gun owners, will say, "Oh, you can't blame Democrats for everything." So the Democrats don't do everything bad, but they're certainly over there soaking in it. And if you're just going to go, well, the Democrats introduced it, but let's ignore the fact that they're Democrats, then I guess you're not paying attention to politics. So the Republicans aren't introducing this kind of crazy stuff. They are voting for stupid shit. So I'm not getting them off the hook at all. But let's give credit where credit's due. People that want to remove the politics from it, it's a good idea sometimes, but not always. If you do it all the time, never talk about politics, then they get to hide because you're scared to talk about it. All right, so then we got 100 members of the Democrats. So speaking of Democrats, members of the House of Representatives signed a letter calling on the Speaker to bring up gun control. So that should be a nail in their coffin. There's things that we could do as a society, as a culture, as a community that could effort towards making that unappealing. Having 100 people virtue signal that guns are bad, is lame. And getting mad about it is weak. Stopping it from happening is more effective than being offended when they do it. So why don't we stop it from happening in the future and request or maybe even demand that our national level organization start to attempt some of this stuff that's doable. Or maybe not. But that's my news of the week. Sure, other people gave you more comfortable news of the week or gave you that in a more wrapped in the flag version. But I think we got a lot of work to do and plenty of capable people to do it. Let's just organize our resources and accomplish some of this stuff. We live in a pretty decent time. I've got a whole bunch of ladies over here figuring out how to do it. I guess you could just wait and watch the girls do it or get on board and be part of the whole fight. All right, let's talk about the stuff that happened this week that was in the YouTubes. What did I do wrong here? I think I put this stuff all in a weird order, didn't I? So we're going to jump to the bottom here and try to do the show in the right order. I'm trying to add some new stuff to the show here. So we do have quite a few people joining us. Let me bring the camera back up. The co-host here is going to start sniffing. He's going to start snorting. Maybe not. So we're going to do the live Q&A. And we'll take a look at some of these polls here before we get into the shows, I guess. Maybe I should do this after. I don't know if I should do this after or before. Let us know. But let's take a look at the poll that's happening right now. We only have a few votes, but right now people are saying bad week for 2A, 17%, okay week for 2A, 33%, and then good week for 2A, 50%. That's a weird combination there. So this is your time, if you're live right now, to let us know why you voted for what you voted for. There's definitely some people voting for, well, at least one person voting for bad, 2 people voting for okay, and 3 people voting for good. I think that's how it came out. So looks like a lot of people are saying it's a good week when we just talked about like half the news is bad, and then some people saying it's okay. Now we're seeing some changes as more people are voting, but use the comments. Let us know why you said what you did. We're going to take a moment, since I'm using the power of screen sharing here, to go to the channel. So I'm going to use the power of my own links. Puppy, what are you doing? Puppy's knocking the microphone over. I don't know what he's doing. I think I got a pretty good puppy cam going today, though. I went down and up at him today a little bit. This way, if anybody super chats, this is what'll happen. You're not obligated to super chat, but if super chats happen, then this happens. This is peanut butter cookie treat, and that is a puppy mouth, and it goes into the puppy mouth. So I can get it to be centered there, and then you'll see a puppy eat it. I'll try to get it into the puppy mouth back here, though, so it's not all gross. We'll see. He's pretty gross, so it'll probably be gross. All right, but taking a look over here at the community tab, a lot of people have community tabs. Some people use them. Oh, snap. Looks like a best organization of the year popped up 7 hours ago. And look at that. GOA is winning. Second Amendment Foundation is coming in third, and FPC is coming in second. NRA is coming in with 2%. I always put NRA in there. People get mad. Let's go down to, we have a Death Wish poll going, and then we'll scroll down a little bit more to the other poll that was going on. Got a couple of announcements for upcoming events and ongoing events and history. And eventually we'll get to, there's the big fat puppy sitting there. We'll get to, this one might have been from last week, but it had some time to cook now. Which do you watch? Reacher, Jack Ryan, or neither? And we got most of the votes going to Reacher. Then Ryan went in or getting second place with 34%. Only 16% saying neither. So it looks like we got a lot of people over here that like watching Reacher. So this week's poll was which Death Wish gun do you choose? So there's 5 Death Wishes if you don't count the shitty new one, which is fake, which is not a Death Wish movie and shouldn't be labeled Death Wish. It's horrible. So the 5 originals are Death Wish from 1974, the original. Then Death Wish 2, 1982, and it's okay. Then Death Wish 3, the Wildy one everybody likes, 1985. Death Wish 4, the Crackdown, is kind of a lame one, 1987, but he does have a Mac 10 in that one. Or Death Wish 5, The Face of Death, 1994. Don't get scared, puppy. He has a 357 Magnum, a Model 66 in it, but it's also the one where it's one of the only movies ever that has an AMD 65 in it, version of the AK-47 from Hungarian, Hungarianish, however you say the word Hungary. It's where Turkey and Hungary are right next to each other. So an AMD 65 in that one, and then so what I chose was first Death Wish, Death Wish 3. I got 2 out of there because there's no real awesome guns from 2. Death Wish 1 has the original Colt Police positive 32 special, or it's like a 3240 or something. No, it's not. It's a 3220 or something. Then there's Death Wish 3, of course. Let's call Wildy, the Wildy Hunter 475. Then Death Wish 4, the Mac 10 and 45 ACP, which is on the cover of the movie poster. And then Death Wish 5, where he has the Smith & Wesson Model 66 357. And as you can see, Model 357, or Model, boom. Stop everything. We got a super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat. I had a serpentine belt blow out on the van, so super chats are much appreciated. Ron Wayne is feeding the puppy, so we'll try our best to keep the puppy back here. Actually, here's what we're going to do. Because this is the first super chat, it's going to be a special feeding the hot dog super chat. We'll get him a hot dog costume on. This is just for Woods. Woods insisted that we dress him up as a hot dog more often. So here he is, looking like a hot dog. And here we are, feeding him a peanut butter sandwich. Thanks for the super chat. Much appreciated. Like I say, I think I bought the wrong size belt, so it looks like I'm going back to buy yet another belt. I'm going to go ahead and give him 2 for the first super chat of the night. Thank you very much. Maybe the only super chat of the whole week. Wait, did we get a super chat on Tuesday? We might have got a super chat on Tuesday, so I don't want to say the whole week. But first super chat of the night. And also, give Puppy a bit of a head wiggle. You got to also do this to make sure I'm feeding the right end. Sometimes he's turned around and I feed the wrong end. So if I make sure I'm touching ears and eyeballs, then I know I've got the right end. All right, so Ron Wayne is saying he loves the Death Wish movies. They don't make movies like that anymore. So Death Wish 1, is written by somebody. It's like a fancy, famous movie. It's a good movie. And then the rest of them are like B movies, which are exploitation movies, I guess. But yeah, they're all super good. Death Wish 1 is one of my favorite movies of all times, mainly because it's a good, interesting movie. It's super 70s. It's made in 1974, and they just showed a lot of New York. But then, dude comes out to Tucson, so you get to see a whole bunch of Tucson in 1974, and it's super cool. They did a scene or two underneath the University of Arizona's football stadium where there was a shooting range, and they did a bunch of scenes filmed there. And I know the people over at the University of Arizona shooting team, and one day I'll be able to get over there. They know I'm curious to do it, so if they ever get access to the old ranges, I might actually get to see that range. But then you also just get to see a whole bunch of Tucson that was just desert back then when the movie was made. Of course, now it's all behind, underneath a city. But super neat, and really fan of Death Wish. Plus, again, it's an interesting movie. It's a pretty good movie, kind of a guy who's capable but decides to be meek, ends up not being meek anymore. And then Death Wish 2, it's good, I guess. It's definitely a different movie. Death Wish 3, not my favorite. 4, not my favorite. 5, not my favorite. They're okay. They're all better than that last garbage from 2018, though. They basically took a movie which was a revenge movie, and then it turned into a vigilante movie series, I guess. So first he was just a revenge movie, and then kind of revenge again, and then more revenge, and then it turned into vigilante stuff from these last two. Here they turned it into woke garbage, sucky woke garbage. So really shitty. Only worth watching in order to see how bad they can make a movie. But let's see. Which movie did he hammer the nails in the spring-loaded board? I'm guessing 5, because that seems like something he'd do in 5. 4 was like they were running around a warehouse or a sewing place, like they were doing a bunch of sewing or something, or laundry or something. They were in some kind of a fabric warehouse, running around half the time. I mean, there's Mac 10 and everything, but it's like they had a budget of like $15, so they just paid some guy to run around their fabric warehouse for most of the movie. 5 though, or that was 5. Wait, that was 4. 5 was he takes a remote control soccer ball. I don't want to spoil it, but there's all kinds of interesting stuff in 5 that makes no sense. So I'm thinking it's 5. And it definitely got turned into a vigilante type of thing. All right, so that's part of the show is we've got some polls over on the YouTube. Oh, I guess we do have an extra poll we snuck in 7 hours ago. I forgot about. So some of these polls I schedule, and some of them I post, each week. So that Death Wish one I posted. This one I probably posted a year ago, so or earlier this year in January or something, because I like this poll to go up each year. What am I saying? Each month. To get kind of a finger on the pulse. So Puppy's getting a little bit antsy, but I think he's excited that he got a couple of biscuits there. Not super excited about wearing the hot dog outfit. So let's see. We can go over to the site that Minuteman University, where I talk about, or I have a link in the description of this poll. So I talk about what we're doing here when we ask this question, and as we ask this question over time, this is the accumulated list. So the black line is GOA, and you can see their popularity is always high, and their level of popularity fluctuates a little bit. Yellow is FPC. Also, their level of popularity or the number of votes that they get fluctuates. The blue line is Second Amendment Foundation, and you can see that it barely gets any indication at all. While a lot of people will mention it, no one really votes for it as being their favorite. And then, of course, NRA. Everybody hates the NRA because it's cool. Even though Bloomberg's not paying people like the NRA, people love to hate the NRA. And that gives us the goal of this poll is to accumulate this data just for shits and giggles, because it really doesn't amount to nothing. But since we're over here, let's take a quick look and see, just so everybody knows what's going on. So back in the year that I did this, which was 2-3 years ago now, and if we look at the numbers here, if I can open one of these things in a new window and see a date. So this was 2011 to 2020. So this is numbers from 2020. These are the different organizations we're talking about, and this is how much money they're bringing in. So the one that nobody hears about from Colorado brings in over $6 million every year. Gun Owners of America brings in just under $5 million back in 2020. You think that's more or less now? Second Amendment Foundation brings in almost $5 million, but Second Amendment Foundation spends at least $1 million on the gun rights policy conference, they say. Okay, then you've got the North American Sporting Goods Wholesalers. They're a little tiny SHOT Show, and they're bringing in $2 million. So if it takes $1 million to run their show, they're essentially running their show every year, and that's it. The Citizens Committee for the right to keep and bear arms, well, that's also Second Amendment Foundation. So now, is Second Amendment Foundation really bringing in $6 million? Okay, yeah, they are. So they spend $1 million on the Gun Rights Policy Conference. That's a lot of lawsuits for $7 million, $6 million. Gun Owners of America, $5 million. They just doubled, their membership potentially. Then you got FPC bringing in $1 million. $1 million. FPC, $1 million. Second Amendment Foundation, something like $7 million. Gun Owners of America, something like $5 million back in 2020 before the fall of the NRA and everybody's rush to leave the NRA. And then you got the one that nobody even pays attention to in Colorado, bringing in $6 million, and they do absolutely nothing. What have you ever even heard from that organization before? $6 million. You might think, what is that red line or that orange line right there? That orange line is how much they're paying the salaries of the people that work there. So Second Amendment Foundation spends less than anybody on their people. I can guarantee you they don't spend nothing. Then you got FPC spending some of that $1 million on people. But what does FPC do? Who do you see more? Who wins these polls? And then you got Gun Owners of America bringing in $5 million, spending that much on salaries. Nobody complains at all. So, of course, NRA is not in here. NRA, this is NSSF, so that's SHOT Show. Then there's NRA. So NRA, you don't even see these other organizations because NRA brings in $360 million. Yes, they spend way more than even the largest organization on their budget, on their people, but that's nothing compared to how much they're spending on our infrastructure, on our community, and on our culture, and on the shooting sports. So people that hate the NRA are truly working for Bloomberg. They don't know what they're talking about. hate the NRA all you want. Work to kill it. You're working for Bloomberg for free. Makes no sense. So there's what it looks like when you include the NRA. You remove the NRA. That's what it looks like with NSSF. You remove NSSF. That's what it looks like with that one in Colorado making all the money. And that's how they stack up compared to FPC. We go back to the poll and we see that Gun Owners of America is getting all the love. Second Amendment Foundation comes in third. FPC comes in second. And NRA, everybody loves to hate them. So, I don't know. Not trying to prove nothing. Just trying to keep people aware that there's people making money for everything that you see out there. Everything's getting money. Lawsuits, right? Lawsuits. You ever seen a budget for a lawsuit? You ever seen a list of lawsuits? You ever seen a list of lawsuits with numbers next to them to show you how much those lawsuits cost? Nope. But you hear about Wayne's suits. So that's a little bit of the polls. Make of them what you will. A lot of people will do polls on, what chocolate treat tastes best. And, those are fun polls, but I like to make people think once in a while too. So our polls may not be comfortable for everybody. All right, so we have a topic tonight. So if you want to chat, has anybody typed in here about why they think what they chose for their poll over here? I'll scroll through. We'll take a look at the poll. Where's my poll? What happened to my poll? Oh, this is the wrong thing. Here's my poll? No. Where's my poll? Yeah, here's my poll. Okay, we got a bunch more votes in the poll. Now we have a couple for Great Week, a whole bunch for Good Week, and just a couple we got okay coming in second. So it's 42% for good, 33% for okay, 17% for great, and 8% for bad. Interesting. So now somebody's saying Good Week or Great Week, really. So let's take a look at the comments and see if anybody is saying why they said that or why they said what they said. Talking about whatever, talking about stuff and things. And Roy Munson's out there. Good afternoon. Wesley's joining us. Thanks again to Ron for the super chat. Much appreciated. It's a good day to kick some AUSA. I don't know what that is. Something but in court. Okay. And Gunmetal is out there. Agrizer, welcome. All right, so I think I'm saying hey to everybody, and we'll now, nobody's really saying anything about what their reasons are for the week. Feel free to fill that in if you're listening in the future. You don't have to be live to be part of the show. Or if you're listening on a podcast, leave us a comment on the podcast platform, or leave us a comment over on the YouTube or on the Instagram or one of those other platforms where you find us. Okay, so the spotlight topic this week is what is next and what do we prepare for? So I know that there's some of the doom and gloom, some of the you got to listen to us every day types saying that Biden's got some new stuff coming. They say that Tennessee's got stuff coming. So there's some obvious stuff, some stuff that we talked about already tonight, and then the stuff that we talked about a little bit last week. What if Biden is going to be suggesting that any number of or any profit in a gun sale means that you need to be an FFL, and therefore they're never going to make everybody an FFL, so that's going to restrict people's ability to sell guns. I don't know. It's some other convoluted suggestion that they're going to be able to end guns because of Biden. So what is next? Is Biden so powerful, smart, and agile that he's going to succeed in removing guns from the United States? Does anyone really think that? Is he going to be resisted through observation? So what is next? I know that we've got the ladies doing the Armed Women of America conference, leadership conference. this week. They've spent, this is their 7th year. So at some point, they are no longer, they're going to be taking the training wheels off. And I suspect to get to the level they've gotten to now with the organization, they've to some extent figured out that their training wheels are off. At some point, everyone's going to figure out what they've been doing, right? And them and other ladies. Now there's more than that. We had the NAGA National Convention last month, the end of last month, and that's a whole nother community that's new to the shooting sports, a whole bunch of gun clubs that have been created fairly recently on the scene and have been ignored mostly or have been ignored only because their positions weren't clarified. So now that the convention happened and all the organizations had a chance to get together, feel their, experience what they are, what the National African American Gun Owner Association even is. They've been in existence since 2015. July 31st was the first time they were able to get together and all be in the same room. So that's going to be something that, there's going to be consequences from that. What's next? Like, we're going to see what's next as the time progresses from there. We've got some other things that happened. The Ambassador Academy earlier in the year, the DC Project, they've already done their what's the word? Can't think of the word. They've already done their initial, I'll use that word, their initial scouting of DC, and their event will happen in October. Then there's still some conventions that'll happen this year. And do we have any rallies? Yeah, we have the Massachusetts rally. So we have a new element in the scene where Massachusetts is getting beat up on, but getting beat up on post Oregon, post Washington, and in 2023, where they've been beat up in the past before there's been any kind of, there's always been GOAL, the Gun Owners Action League, but GOAL has become more larger and more prominent. Is that the right word? Over the years. So now that they've become a more worthwhile adversary for these, at this point, 2 individuals, from what I understand, in Massachusetts that are really backing most of this or instigating most of this shit. I think there's some awareness that can be done. There doesn't seem to be much awareness being efforted in Massachusetts yet. So I think there's some potential to see a change in results from whatever comes up from this thing on the 27th. Let's see, what else do we have? Tennessee, we have on the 21st. We talked about earlier there, some potential there. We've got Arizona, where we're changing state, and our state level organization has changed completely, and the makeup of the state continues to change with more and more people coming from California with their ideas and their philosophies and their core values being different than what had been the makeup of Arizona in the past. So we're not the only state that's like that. Probably that's why you saw Massachusetts and Oregon and Nevada have to deal with similar things. So we've got a lot to prepare for. What's next? I don't know. So I'm going to leave that to the comments out there. That's our spotlight topic this week. And if anybody wants to throw some ideas in there, how we can play with that a little bit. I like the concept of a spotlight topic, and we'll continue to evolve that as the shows go on. So this is the part where live Q&A with the listener. So this is where you would comment on either the spotlight topic. I'll throw it out here and put it up as a thing so everybody can read it in case they're scared to read it. And then there we go. And then we talked about the polls. We'll say thanks to our Patreons, though. People that make it possible for us to spend time on this. This takes about an hour or 2 hours to put together, depending on how much effort I put into it. But it takes at least an hour to accumulate everything. That doesn't count watching everything throughout the week, and I'm not really doing homework, but just gathering the resources and paying attention. And some weeks that just happens. I have time to do it throughout the week, and other weeks I've been busy all week, like this week when the serpentine belt on the van blew out while I was out driving. It's like 100 and wasn't too bad. It was like 110 or something, not 10, 101, maybe 105 or something when it went out. So it could have been way hotter, but still had to wrestle around trying to figure out what's going on and replace a pulley in there. And altogether it was $140, and still looking at another maybe $70. Wait, was it 70 for that belt? It's either 70 or 50. I can't remember for the belt. And belts ain't getting any cheaper. So I'm not sure what's happening with it still. It's super squeaky. We'll have another show chatting about that, try to get some ideas from people. But because of that, I didn't have time to spend or spare to just listen to podcasts and stuff. I've already had to drop some of the podcasts that I used to try to monitor each week in lieu of getting some other projects done. But again, our Patreons make it possible for me to spend the time on this stuff, and for everybody else to work on these projects when they do. It keeps our servers going. There's 3 big servers that run all the different websites and things, and then most of those websites exist. We do effort to keep them updated, however. The calendar, for example, new stuff gets added, things fall off of it, so it just takes some maintenance to keep it up to date and then to move everything around. So the stuff's in the calendar. I think Gizzard posted about that today on YouTube. Thanks for that. But everything's on the calendar. It doesn't do us any good to just have it on the calendar. So we attempt to post that on the different socials to make reminders and alerts for things that are important and things that are worth remembering, and then letting people know ahead of time about things that are coming. Next year, again, we hope to print a Shooter's Almanac again. It's a project we've been working on off and on since 2000 and, well, I guess we started it in 2018 and then tried to print it the first time in 2019, and then that rally happened in Washington, D.C., so instead of raising funds for printing the almanac, we went to D.C. To experience that rally, and I would like to try to get that published again. So we'll be efforting on that, and our Patreons make it possible for us to have accumulated all the data that will get into that almanac eventually. Not to mention, and more than our Patreons, the people that supported our projects throughout the years made it possible for me to spend the time to do all the illustrations and research, which are the major time-consuming part of those publications. Now I just have to take all that data and put it together in a booklet, and that's just time. That's not difficult as much as it was to research it all and understand it all. So thanks to our patrons. They're the ones that make it possible for us to do this. This isn't stuff that needs to happen. There's certainly more interesting, more tasty treats out there on the internet, but the people that understand what we're attempting to do in the long run and support that with subscriptions are much appreciated. Most of them are subscribing with essentially a cup of coffee each month, $5 or so each month. That adds up. There's 109 Patreons right now. So you can imagine if the average is about $5, that brings in $1,000-ish. And that allows us to get a lot of those all the servers paid for, a lot of the software paid for. And that if I don't make enough to pay for all that stuff. So it's the Patreons that make it possible for us to keep all this stuff online. We do appreciate it, and we thank the people that jump on Patreon. I'm going to suggest take $20 for the next 5 months. That's $100, and head over to Patreon. We want 5 of that, so it'd be cool. Essentially, you're going to give us $20, throw us $5 a month for the next 5 months, and then take the rest of that $20 and go over to Patreon and look around. You're going to find all kinds of interesting things: comic books, musicians, people with podcasts, people with blogs or newsletters, or just different ways to get information out there for all kinds of different things that you might be interested in or passionate about. Maybe even little dogs like this. And find things that you think have value and throw a couple of bucks at them each week or each month, I guess. And you're a venture capitalist. You're a part of using your resources, your capital as a capitalist, to make things exist that otherwise wouldn't. And I think that's one of the coolest things about Patreon. I can tell you, I wouldn't have been able to travel the country. We wouldn't have been able to publish the things that we've done, the different cards and books and things over the years, without crowdfunding and without that Patreon support. Patreon is crowdfunding, but also a community. It gives us a lot of tools to stay in touch and to share. So I really appreciate Patreon, the project, what it offers. And then, we'd really like to see one of those happen when it's a little bit more gun friendly. It's not that it's unfriendly, it's just kind of gun neutral, and that can step on us every once in a while. There are some people that have had bad luck with Patreon, and because of that, lots of people just left the platform completely, and that leaves us and other gun people with fewer supporters over there. So there are YouTube members. We appreciate them as well. If you give us $1 with YouTube, they keep 30 cents. When you give us $1 with Patreon, they keep 3 cents. So there's a big difference, and we do appreciate the support. The Patreon support gets more, it gets to us. So moving the lights around, I don't know if that worked or not. But again, thanks to those Patreons. We've had that scroll going at the bottom of the screen there, and we do that every time we do a live screen or stream to acknowledge those folks that really run the show. We're going to run another commercial here, mainly so I can take a breath, punch this little dog in the face a couple of times, and drink a slurp or two of coffee. We'll thank everybody, or we'll welcome everybody else who's been joining in here, and consider jumping over to our store and grabbing something.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
All right, so that gives everybody a little time to think about our spotlight topic tonight. What is next? What to prepare for? So I'll check the comments again, see if anybody's chiming in on that. And first off, Hillbilly Up is out there. I don't know what the hell you got going on with that flag, dude, but that's messed up. I don't know what you're going to do with that flag, dude. We got Agorizer saying, prepare to fight against red flag bribery money in the red states. For sure. So that is the safer communities garbage that Biden pushed, and a bunch of Republicans said, yeah, we can compromise on that, and remained ignorant, marginalized gun owners, and essentially put billions of taxpayer dollars into funds, into piles that will be distributed over the next number of years. Essentially, they're telling all the states, here's a little dance you got to do. It includes red flag laws. It includes all kinds of fake garbage that can be sold as gun control. And the first states that dance get the money. The states that dance fastest first get the money. So the idea is to encourage all the states that want to dance, and then to give the ones that dance fastest some of that tax money from the feds. It's a messed up process. It's messed up. Being offended about it now is, I think, criminal. We should have been frustrated about it when it was passed by Republicans who act like they're not anti-gun, pushed by Democrats who act like they're trying to solve things, and essentially all they did is spend a bunch of our money, and they're not going to accomplish anything. And what's next? Maybe we should be thinking about playing 4D chess with this, cutting them off where they aren't able to do these tactics anymore. But I agree, prepare to fight against these red flag briberies. There's a lot of money on the table, and it is going up for grabs. 10 states will grab like $40 million each for the next, whatever it is, 5 or 10 years or whatever it is. G23 is saying next. Oh, that was Agorizer. G23 is saying next is an ATF rule update, so be ready for another comment period. And that's the one where ATF is going to suggest that anybody in the business or anybody who, is that the thing? I think that's the one that's coming. If you sell anything with the idea of making a profit, now you're a gun shop. And if that's the case, then you need to apply for an FFL. And if that's the case, you can't. You're not an FFL, and then boom, now you can't sell. So yeah, I hear you. That is an interesting one, and we need to get our shit together as a group so that we're not running around each doing the same job twice. And usually when that happens, somebody's wasting time, somebody's wasting money. If we get better at working together to accomplish tasks for certain things, we get better at figuring out who's good at what and who's not. If somebody's got, I don't know, they say they can do everything, and you find out after a couple of sessions that they can only do half the stuff they said, you just get used to that, and you only give them those jobs, right? So, we got to get past those growing pains. We got to get some systems down, and we got that opportunity to do it with these ATF rules as they come up for sure. Darth is saying it's an okay week. Nothing decided was made permanent. That's a good way of looking at it. I really like that. Too often, we get the headlines and then that's it, right? Just the headline, and nobody reads the article, and with just the headline we move on, and you've got 3 different ways to interpret that headline, so you got 3 different interpretations moving on. G23 is saying national background check. Oh, well, I haven't heard of that one. You mean like a universal background check or something? So I don't know how they're going to be able to enforce something like that. I haven't heard of that one, I guess. And I'm talking about you got that flag upside down on somebody's show. It was messed up. All right, so let's see. Listener stories. I guess we're not going to do that. Oh, puppy's leaving, so I guess we can get rid of the puppy cam. Puppy's on his way out. Need to be put down, puppy? Hold on, let me figure out how to get rid of the puppy cam. Okay, I put him down. So I don't know about this one. I'll probably get rid of this one. And then challenge for listeners to engage in 2A activism. This month, I think the best thing that I can offer for this week would be to realize that national conference is happening and help spread the word on it. I've seen a couple of people help sharing the Armed Women of America National Conference and Leadership Summit out there. And since that's actually happening this week, I guess that would be a good call to action for this week. Let me go and see if that pushes through. All right, so we'll get into the videos that happened this week. If you go to the YouTube video, then the description over here is pretty boring. YouTube doesn't let us put any kind of formatting in, so if I can scroll down past the poll, where is it at? Here's the description. The description is just kind of blah on YouTube, and it only gives me 5,000 characters, so it fills up really fast. We usually type more like, if it gives us 5,000, I usually type more like 30,000 characters, so it doesn't fit in YouTube. So we put it over here on Substack. I'll throw another link out there for anybody that wants to check out our Substack. Check out our Substack. And let's dig in. Like I said, this is much more cool, easier to see, and more interesting, formatted more interestingly. That's why we use it over here on the rewind show. Now I've got to monitor the puppy and see if he's doing bad things. I forgot that I had him up here because he just ate. So Suicide Prevention Saturday is each Saturday. Brooke Cheney, who runs a great start shooting school in Connecticut, hosts a short, consistent show each Saturday, and the focus is on suicide prevention, mental health awareness, and awareness for sure, and ideas, suggestions, tools, things that you can use to have more effective communications and more, hopefully, more effective conversations, debates, I guess, with people who want to get rid of our guns because they think that guns are the problem, or they've been told that guns are the problem, and they don't see that just by removing one item, that you're not really helping anything. And they're often also not familiar with the concept that when they're told about firearms deaths, 2 out of 3, no matter what numbers they're given, 2 out of 3 of those deaths are from suicide. So when we effort together to reach across and understand ways to prevent suicide, combat suicide, or to create suicide prevention, to remove barriers on mental health, or mental health, provide mental health awareness, uh, get better at understanding signs, and being more comfortable with conversations. We remove the things that cause the problems, or some of the things that cause some of the problems in the first place, but we're also doing that with people who have the ultimate goal of wanting to help other people. And they think that they can accomplish that by challenging us on our property and our rights to own property. We can deflect that challenge by working together on preventing suicide, for example. So Brooke has a great project, super valid. I highlight it, or I spotlight it every single week on this show because it's literally the most consistent, most useful, most productive thing that's been happening in the Second Amendment realm since I've been aware of this stuff. This is the unsung campaign of the war on guns. The other side uses ignorance and suicide deaths. That's what they stand on. That they stand on the deaths of suicides, and they use that to beat on gun owners. And since gun owners aren't paying attention to that dynamic, we say things like our rights, our property, and now we're in the battle, the ambush that they created. So Brooke does the best job out there on offering awareness and opportunities to have better conversations. And this week was excellent example of that. Pattern interrupts. So I think she started out the show talking about someone who was sad, someone who's dealing with some real serious issues. And I think she said she asked them what the name of the first person they kissed was. And that's a pattern interrupt. The concept is to stop the thoughts of someone who's having some kind of an issue, and just give them something else to concentrate on, an alternative thing to think about, and the potential benefits of that as a tool. And that's just the kernel of the concept, but it was it's like a 20-minute video or something. She doesn't spend too long going into it, and explains how you can use that tool both to help people and understand when people are using that as a distraction. I think too, once you know some of these things, when people are using it against you, so to speak. All right, I'm trying to move my microphone over and get the puppy in the view. Puppy came back. Let's see. So then we got, let's see, this guy, Four Boxes Diner, does some of the commentary on things that are happening out there. And he gave a commentary on this concept, on this, the Matthew Hoover case with what's that thing called? The auto key card case, where a guy drew a picture in metal, on metal, engraved a picture on metal, and the ATF suggested that that could be used as a blueprint to create a thing that they don't like, and used him as an example to scare people from challenging their concepts and acting in ways in front of other people, I guess. So I didn't listen to this one, but if you're interested in getting more insight on that one, it is one of the things that's happening this week. And we'll keep going. I don't know how this got in here twice. Oh, I guess I got two of this guy's things. So one of them is him talking about that case, and this other one is him talking about the history of serialization. That's what it is. I think it's important to know the history of our stuff. I don't know if his history is linear, like it was a little bit rambly, but I applaud people who are interested in sharing and shedding light on history of where we got to where we are and what the things are that the gun control rests on. There's only a couple of weak foundations that all gun control rests on. Some of that is history and practice, and court cases can change that dramatically. So knowing stuff and being able to have conversations with individuals is how we bring new concepts to the minds of representatives, which is how we get new bills and things. So I think this is great. I'd like to see definitely more amplitude, more volume on this one. Let's see. We've got John Lott talking on a couple of different shows. I don't think I'm going to be paying much attention to John Lott anymore. It's too bad, but things happen, and hopefully things will pass, and we'll see John Lott being more effective here in the future. We got the Virginia Citizens Defense League. I guess got things all out of order here, but the Virginia Citizens Defense League has posted a video about this, but I wanted to just kind of mention, I guess I should have had this up in the top of the video here, but the Virginia Citizens Defense League has a virtual online meeting every month on the second Sunday of each month. So there's a reminder about that because it's coming up. But then you've also got in-person meetings in Virginia on the third Thursday of each month. Then once a year on Martin Luther King Day, they have an annual lobby day at their state capitol. And the Virginia Citizens Defense League has done a great job of accomplishing good things at that lobby day. And I just thought it was a good time to mention, since they kind of posted about it, that they do have this frequency each second Sunday of each month, third Thursday of each month, and then each year on Martin Luther King Day. The only problem with it is that's right in the middle of SHOT Show. Almost every year, that's like Monday of SHOT Show week. Now we have another one from John Lott. Like I say, this is probably the last ones from John Lott. But this is his take for how long? These things don't tell me the time, but it's probably not real long. Most of the John Lott videos are segments that he films with our On People shows. So this is him talking about the defunding of hunting and archery. It's one of the things I didn't even bother to chat about, but it's certainly one of the things that's being abused, or people are up in arms about this week. It's important. It's important, but it's not put everything down and worry about it important. It's one of the important things. Okay, so that's the 2A stuff. I tried to organize this stuff between 2A, guns, and then some other topics. So now we're getting into the more gun-related stuff. And we mentioned Brooke Cheney, who does the suicide prevention and mental health awareness projects on Friday. She also has a Great Start Shooting School. So she's been doing a dry fire series, and in this particular one that I'm using, her day 12 example, that it takes 3,000 reps to create a new skill. She's trying to add some practical learning application to firearms education and skill building. Speaking of firearms education, Rick Ector has an event each year in Detroit where he brings a bunch of different ladies together. He brings dozens of instructors, firearms instructors together, and then this year 1,500 ladies to get free orientation, a familiarization, and then if they're interested, some time on the range, and they get to pull triggers with an instructor one-on-one, and 1,500 ladies. So Rick brings together dozens of instructors. They all come to 2 different locations in Detroit, and each year it gets bigger. Each year the awareness and the community that supports Rick's project grows and expands. And now that community of fans and friends, instructors, students has gone online, it's also grown, I guess, in awareness. So let's turn them over so that you can see them. And what we're talking about in this video is, what did I link to? I don't know if I linked to either Meet the Pressers or Riding Shotgun with Charlie. So Riding Shotgun with Charlie and Meet the Pressers are friends, and they do a collaborative podcast pretty much monthly, but kind of irregularly. And it's typically people that have been on both of their shows before. They get together and do their show like a second interview with people together. So they do like a 3-person interview with people that they've each already had on. And in this case, they had a bunch of people on. So this was an after action for the Rick Ector's Detroit Ladies event. And this was Wednesday after the event? No, Wednesday 2 weeks or a week. What did that be? 10 days after the event. So this was bringing a bunch of instructors together to talk about their experiences. So very cool. And it's cool that Charlie and Matt are doing the collaborative project. And I always like to be able to see things after the fact. Lead up to the projects is always neat. The lead up to events is always interesting. But then all too often we don't follow up and talk about how the event went. One, for just to kind of get an idea of how it went for the people that hadn't been there. 2, so that it's archived. So in the future, anyone who wants to know what it was like has something to reference. But then also so those people that were involved have the ability to gather and gain whatever they can from each other, especially with some time on the clock after the event's over, so that everybody's had time to think about it, and knowing that they're going to get back together, had time to just ponder on that and to share. So I really like it when things get together and chat about this or chat about events, and it gives us all a conclusion. A lot of us have been aware of the event, follow it each year, and then get ultimately frustrated because we don't get any follow-up on the events until 11 months later, when everybody starts saying last year's event was so good that we can't wait to do it again. So thanks to Shotgun Charlie and Meet the Pressers for hosting that one. Can you tell I'm wiggling the dog's tail back there? I think you can. Next one is 2A Cops. They are 2 police officers from California that retired and moved to other states, and now they do some things. And one of the things they do is a YouTube channel together, and they address issues that come up often from the law enforcement's position. And the cop on the street is almost always different than the chief who's appointed by an elected mayor or a town council. So mayors often are pawns of the elected officials because they're elected or appointed by the elected panel. The chiefs will often just walk to the whatever line the appointed people tell them. They're answerable to them, where the people on the street are less interested in all that politics. People on the police on the street are more often, well, at least they have the potential to be in either, anywhere on the spectrum. So these 2A cops, the YouTube channel ends up training, instructing a lot of police, and they have insight to a lot of different perspective, I guess, of different issues. So anyway, right now we're talking about, San Francisco, where I guess somebody suggested, I don't know if it was the chief suggested or if it was an actual implemented procedure, but people are supposed to get an air horn like you get for a boat, or what else do you use an air horn for? Scaring birds away or something? So essentially a compressed air canister with a funnel shape on top that creates a very loud noise with some kind of a button. And when you push the button, the compressed air goes through this really loud funnel or horn. And you're supposed to use this air horn to defend yourself from the types of things that they're no longer going to send the police out for. Some of the lower end violent robberies and abuses. Obviously, it's a dumb idea. It is a pandering or some sort of a weird virtue signal from some politician. And what we need is rational arguments to the concept rather than just dismissing it, in order to have conversations with the people who voted for it in the first place, because somebody voted for that kind of weird shit. And they're voting for that because they got no clue. So we can laugh at it or be offended by it, but we could also end it by educating the people who would ever vote for such things. Once they understand why it's a silly thing to vote for, they'll never vote for that again, and we will we'll have removed this from the table. Next up is Gizzard, chatting over there about the Armed Women of America conference earlier tonight with episode 229. Appreciate the plugs. Gizzard is often plugging the Gear website store. Always appreciated. And then I believe he plugged this show as well tonight. Let's see. Then we've got the Mouse Party that happens on Saturdays. Well, it usually happens on Wednesdays, but because of some issues in the state of Washington, some laws and things that got changed, the Mouse Party needed to be moved to Saturday. And it sounds like that might not be long term, but we don't know. For now, the Mouse Party happens every other Saturday, and the other Saturdays are the overnight. So each Saturday at this point, you get a show from DM Foss. These are overnight shows for people that are up at night, or people that work at night, people that might be driving or doing shift work, or just up cooking, cleaning, fixing, removing, installing, doing all the stuff that people take for granted during the day. And I'm a big fan of nighttime shows, as you might imagine, since I start this show at midnight Eastern for the last 1,555 something episodes. People that do stuff in the middle of the night are often disregarded, pretty much just ignored by the daytimers. Trying to get this dog. He keeps melting out of his little place there, so I think I've got him in the screen. You can't hardly tell it's a dog anymore. I do this maybe. So thanks to Foss for giving the night crew something to chat about that's live, and it's a collaborative thing. I try to get some conversation going on these shows, but it's tough. So having the Mouse Party on Saturdays is a great option for that. Right after the Billy Up show over there on Saturdays. You can tell Billy saying if somebody were to blast that air horn in most people's face, it would get them beat up. Yeah, I don't think too many people that are mad enough to be assaulting someone are going to be worried about an air horn. I don't think an air horn even works for critters that are pissed. But then if someone isn't pissed, I think it's the kind of thing that would make them pissed. So it just doesn't make much sense to to suggest that someone who's willing to do something against the law is going to stop because someone sees them doing it. Like they already are brazen, is that the right word? Or they're already bold enough to do it. So making other people aware of it isn't necessarily a deterrent that I think they're anticipating it would be. So I think Toby had to run the show himself this week. I get the idea. So they did a shorter, abbreviated show, but one of the best shows, if not the best show for Second Amendment stuff each week, is Cape Gunworks Rapid Fire Radio. Been listening to the show now for about a year. When I first discovered it, I started listening and I'm hooked. Toby runs a good show. He's to keep an interesting conversation going. He's adaptable to talk about guns or just general gun stuff or history or maintenance or competition shooting or hunting, or he's able to dabble in all the different topics that might come up, and at the same time able to follow and monitor and participate in the live stream that happens, which not very many live hosts are comfortable or able to pick up on or do, or have any interest in doing. And then they also have, now that they have a 2-hour format, the Rapid Fire Radio second hour is a long format, hour-long conversation with people in the industry and the community. So this week they didn't have that second hour on because, again, I think Toby had to run the show himself and doing the tech stuff was not working. But still a good show. He ended up chatting with the audience and talking about the thing that's coming up on the 27th in Massachusetts to create awareness and help stop completely that HD 4420 that was looming, and politicians attempted to send through before or out of any kind of normal procedure before they adjourned for the season. All right, so I normally would have, I don't know what happened. Normally I would have Michael Cargill's show in here. So either I stuck it somewhere wrong or I forgot to put it in here. But Michael Cargill does his show on Wednesdays now, and that's a podcast that is a radio show, and it's from Austin, Texas. I'm a big fan of that show, thanks to Yoder, Texas. I don't think he shows up in this live show too often, but he shows up on the YouTube comments quite a bit. So Yoder, Texas was a member of Gun Channels for the whole time, I think. So for 8 years on Gun Channels, Yoder would post the Come and Talk It radio show link to the radio station. And a lot of us who were in usually Mr. Knives, sometimes Gizzards or Pink's lobbies, we would be live, and then somebody would just turn on the radio show and we'd listen to it. And so people have been listening to the Come and Talk It radio show for a long time. And like I say, now it's on Wednesdays. Then Gun Owners Radio has a show on Sundays that they stream to the internet. And whenever I can, that's one of the ones I had to sacrifice. It's just that time of day on Sundays has been tough to listen to. But when I can, I listen to that show on Sundays, and they do an 2-hour long radio, or is it 90 minutes or 2-hour long radio show each Sunday out of San Diego, California. And that organization is amazing. They've done some really innovative and successful projects in Southern California, but the radio show is equally as interesting and as well-rounded, and they have really a lot of interesting people on. So one of the best things you can listen to, little less interactive than anything else. It's more produced than live. But those are the three that I usually link to each week: Cape Gunworks, Come and Talk It, and Gun Owners Radio. Then there's about 3 or 5 military interview shows that I listen to on the regular. This week, last week, Team House had the CIA lady on who became an author. I didn't listen to that one. It's probably interesting. This week, they had Delta Force guy on who I was listening to for a bit. This is the second or third time this guy's been on, and I guess the second time he's been on, and super interesting. So listening to these conversations, I chat about them each week. Lots of insight, not just to the specifics of what they're talking about, but in the greater picture, you get listening to military people who are good at talking about or have talked about their experiences. You get a better understanding of the military or the government in general, the way that the bureaucracy works. So even if you're not interested in the actual war stories, which they sometimes talk about actual war stories, but most of the time it's just the experiences of the individual throughout their lives, including their time in service, and then how they've gotten through that and adjusted after. All these are important. People that think warriors only think about war are dipshit idiots who would pander and marginalize others because they're too small to even think about what other people are really got going on. But anybody who is anybody has parents and they have potentially spouses and children to deal with, and that's either something that they had going into the military, they that something that grew during the military, or something that is something after the military. And in each, they have different situations, and every person's situations, every person's circumstances, and every person's choices create different stories. And that's really what these conversations are about. Yes, these are people from the military. Yes, they had some interesting or exciting thing happen to them at some point, but these conversations are about their origin stories, what happened and when and why, and then how they've dealt with it. And that how they've dealt with it is what these shows are about. So anybody that thinks when I mention these military interview shows that I'm worried about the gory, stupid bullshit, that's what we're talking about here is how people who've been successful, intended to become successful, had success, and how they've now dealt with aftermath of that. Interesting, ultimately interesting, and in this case, so interesting that they brought the guy back for a second conversation. A couple other ones on the combat story. He's been talking to pilots, and as much as I like planes, I can't handle listening to pilots every week, especially when I'm having car trouble. So I didn't listen to all these shows this week. Again, when it's a busier week, I don't have time to listen. When it's a slower week, I listen to more of them, but I'm still going to mention them. They're certainly worth your time and your support. Letting the government take care of the VA is a sucker bet. Letting veterans share their experiences and the successes and failures and treatments and processes is what works. So again, in addition to being interesting, these shows, these projects are effective. So witnessing that effectiveness is inspiring. And if you think that the struggle with the firearms community against bureaucracy and the ignorance is the only place we've got challenge, watching some of this military stuff, you can see some parallels. All right, we're moving into the section of the show where we talk about our stuff. So I think I'm going to take another minute here just because I've been chatting for like an hour and a half here. I'm going to take another moment to chat up something. Why don't we chat up this guy? That's our Kung Fu Theater section of the show. I'm going to start using that as a time filler more often. The puppy and I rehearsed that for weeks until we had that highly coordinated routine figured out. All right, so this week I was minding my business and looking at the angry Twitter. And everybody I know on Twitter is angry, I guess, because all I get on Twitter is hateful, spiteful, angry, petty garbage. So I look through it every once in a while to see if there's anything good. Rhonda Ezel posts good stuff. Sometimes Professor Yamani posts something interesting. There's other people. Sometimes Cape Gunworks posts something. Gizzard or somebody will post something. But most of the people over there are just trying to be upset to each other. Like, oh, I'm more upset than you are about this type of shit. Well, I watched some post which was about an article, and it was saying something to the effect of, hey, look at our friends and how great our friends are, and they're the only Second Amendment podcasts on the internet. Well, it didn't say that exactly, but I was like, wait a minute. One thing I'm missing here is like everybody I know, and the other thing that's missing here is everybody else, because I know a bunch of people, and then I know of a bunch of people, and then I ignore a bunch of people, but they all exist, right? So just saying that this group of people exists, ignoring the heart and the soul and the middle and the guts, and then ignoring the fluff and the waste at the top, the people that don't do nothing but still exist. So there's the people that don't do nothing and drag behind. There's the people that are the heart and the guts and the soul and the real meat of the what's getting done. And then there's people that sit at the front acting like they're doing everything, like they're steering, but they're really not doing anything. They're just sitting there. So there's the people sitting there, which nobody talks about because they just wasted time. There's the people doing all the work. And then there's the people that sit around and get dragged behind because they slowly do what everybody else in the middle is doing. And this article was like, hey, look at all these people back here are so good. And I was like, wait a minute, there's a hell of a lot more other stuff going on out there. So I spent, 2 hours digging into the source that some website that plots all podcasts or whatever. And we ended up finding some interesting stuff. So if you want to find out about it, guess what? We put it over on Minuteman University. Again, thanks to our Patreons for making it possible for this stuff to exist and for me to take 2 hours out of a Tuesday or whenever this was to do this. Didn't need to be done. But the way I look at it, there's 3,500,000 podcasts on the planet Earth. So that might be like a lot. If you don't understand numbers, that seems like a lot. But if you understand how many human beings there are and how easy it is to make a podcast, 3,100,000 podcasts, 3,100,000 podcasts ain't really that many podcasts. So of those podcasts, these are where some of them rank. And this was an old radio show and stuff. And then you got a whole bunch that were ignored. And then you got a whole bunch of other ones, like our friend Tony Simon, who's in 2 of these. A whole bunch of these are doing kick-ass work. Some of them just suck. Some of them are, I don't know how they got to where they are. But then if you go down to the bottom, sure, it's the bottom, but it's also, in another way, the very top of that list of 3 million, you get CloverTac. There's 2A Cops, blah, 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 and CloverTac. So you may know this guy named CloverTac. We do a show with him on Tuesdays, I guess on Saturdays also. And that guy, some little dude by himself in Texas, hanging out with Ghost every once in a while, has gotten his podcast to the top 10% of all podcasts. And he started doing it in 2017. So pretty neat. And it didn't really take him all that long. He did this in the last few years. So pretty neat. And learned a bunch of other stuff about the whole spectrum. Not everybody is a podcast. Some of the people who are doing the best work, aren't efforting into this direction. So we'll use this for sure. Definitely going to be using this knowledge to inspire some folks and to encourage some folks, because we got people that are doing, let's just say there's people doing a lot more useful stuff out there on the world, and they could easily get to these levels by just tweaking some stuff. So really interesting. If you want to go check it out. Oh crap, did I link to it? I guess it's linked right here. But if you're too lazy to go click on it, now you can click on that. All right, so next up was Tuesday, Clover and I do a show, and we were chatting about your course as a Second Amendment activist and what skills you might want to acquire. We've done similar topics before, and I don't know if this was one of our best shows or not, but we attempt to. We're not. It's not like we have a course or we're going on some syllabus or something. We typically go. We focus the show on what questions people ask or what issues people are having, so that we can do what we're trying to do, coach. But if nobody gives us an idea, we just try to go with the things that seem to be the most often asked or the most underutilized skill sets. So talked about travel last week. Clover missed it, so we might be talking about travel again here. But if you got ideas for our coaching show, let me know. However you feel like letting me know. Certain people chat with me on Instagram. Some people send us emails. Some people attempt to use the PMs on other systems. PMs are risky. We use them. We're paying attention to them, but not necessarily daily. So if it's urgent, use a more common communication system. And if it's not urgent, then use any of the communication systems, really. Do we have anything else? Yep, on Wednesdays, right before the Rapid Fire Radio Show, middays, we go live and we do something like what we're doing right now, except we focus on Instagram. So we go around looking at everything on the internet and talk about whatever was related to 2A. On Wednesdays, we look at Instagram and take a look at whatever was related to 2A. One, we're doing this because some people are getting paid to talk to you. And when you're getting paid, you only talk about what you're getting paid for, usually. And some people are just doing it out of the goodness of their heart, and they don't got any long-term goal. They're not in this for any kind of actual objective. So they're satisfied with, just sitting at the side of the stream and commenting on what goes by. And those are valid. You can do whatever you want. But, we've been here for a while, and we've got some objectives in the big picture. We want to create more awareness and end these attacks on our rights by removing the potential of these attacks. These attacks are only possible because a bunch of people are ignorant, and either ignorant, dumbass politicians or unscrupulous politicians are going to use that rift. They're either unaware and they're just stupid, or they know exactly what's going on and they know that there's a confusion that they can exploit. Well, we can remove that by not getting rid of the politicians. I mean, do that if you want. It's probably a good idea. But it's not our only option. And that's what my goal is here, is to offer alternatives, to focus on the people that are doing things that are more creative, the things that are overlooked. And, again, we're only able to do this because of the Patreons, but that's the point here. And what we do on Instagram is the same thing. We just want to showcase the stuff that matters, make it easier. Oh, I guess what I was getting at is we do it weekly so that if you're not going to pay attention to Instagram, you can check out that one, it's usually an hour, and get a vacuum. Check out what we vacuumed up that week. Same as this show. If you watch this show, you don't have to watch a whole week's worth of stuff. That's one element. Hopefully you are watching a whole week's worth of stuff and you're just listening to this as a summary and as a table of contents. Maybe if I'm missing something, you'll speak up and let me know, hey, you didn't include this in your list. But really what we're doing is we're writing stuff down for the robots. We're writing stuff down for the future. This stuff's important, and the only way that we consistently win is by remembering what worked and what didn't. And people that only look at the headlines and only talk about what's coming, only talk about the next, well, they're not archiving, and they're not writing stuff down for us and for the future. That's what we're trying to do a little bit of with these shows. We kind of have fun with some of the other shows, I suppose. All right, well, I guess that's the last one for the show, the last one that we're chatting about at least. Our topic for the week was what is next, what to prepare for. So if anybody wants to throw another, your ideas or your suggestions for that one, as we wrap up here, I'll click it over here and then highlight it whenever it shows up. Otherwise, yeah, let us know how the show's going. It got a little bit long. I'm still figuring it all out here. And, maybe if I had a better co-host, or once it gets a little bit nicer out and I'm not stressed out with the van and hot, we'll get this going a little bit smoother. But I kind of like having a little bit more to the show. So give us some feedback on if it's worth it or not. I can make the show shorter too. But the last piece of the show, I guess you could say, was the calendar of what's coming up. So this next week, if you head over to guncalendars.com, and we have a handy dandy link right there to it, you got Annie Oakley being born. She's the coolest. You got Navajo Code Talkers Day coming up. Bannerman's Island warehouse burned down this week in 1969. And then the machine gun, the Thompson machine gun, was patented. The first machine guns, or I should say the first machine gun. There's the first submachine gun, the Thompson, was patented this week. It'll be Airborne Day, so all the airbornes can have a beer. And the first Camp Perry is next weekend, except a long time ago. I'm just adding that stuff. There's posts and socials out there that'll post about that stuff on the days, but just to kind of give you a little heads up there. So as far as the topic of what's next, what to prepare for, Gunswater is saying more executive orders, more rule, hold on. Okay, I don't know that word. More executive orders, more rule proclamation. Is that the right word? Am I saying that right? I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know what that means. More rule misunderstanding, misuse. I don't know that word. But for sure, we've got the executive branch that needs excuses. It needs distraction. We've got a border that's how it is. We've got international funding for military stuff. We've got international funding for other types of stuff, natural disasters, etc. Then we've got Hawaii happening right now. Our co-host from Hawaii, and we've had lots of people from gun channels over in Hawaii. Plus, it's one of our states. So, we've got other things that are out there, and using gun control or the threat of gun control is a ultimate low. And again, we do everybody a service by removing gun control from the equation, and we can do that through education. It's pretty obvious. Problem with acting, the act of making a law or a decree known or formally putting into effect. Okay. Yeah, so essentially, like just deeming more rules into being. I hear what you're saying, I think. And I agree. That's their only option, and their only option. Well, no, it's not their only option. What are we saying? That's one of their popular options, but they have accomplished 18 to 20-year-olds their rights have been removed because of Republicans thinking that was a good idea to compromise. So we've lost 18 to 20s. The ability to exercise rights, that's been lost in the last year or so due to compromise. And this whole idea of sending or taking billions of dollars, setting it aside, taxpayer dollars at the federal level, setting it aside, telling the states to dance, do all kinds of anti-gun dances over here, and the states that dance enough get some of this money. So that kind of stuff, yeah, that kind of quote-unquote rule-making is what they've been able to do and what they've been sort of happy to do, it seems like. But again, this is a distractions from all kinds of other things. We've got challenges, we've got opportunities, we've got established methods of doing stuff. We've got lots of successes. We've got a couple of failures, and we got puppies. So again, thanks everybody for joining us. I don't know if I'm missing anything, but do what I can do, and we'll start wrapping this one up. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Somebody's getting tired, but really he's got to go outside and do his business. He's got some business to do outside. We'll be wrapping this one up with a commercial for our gear website store. We do have a store. We'll be adding stuff to it more and more as we're able to kind of move some of the projects that we've been doing. Let's see. So we had this project that we've been working on. That took some time, and then we moved it to here. And now, thanks to an iPhone, we're able to move it to over here. And then eventually we can get rid of a bunch of stuff on eBay and over at the store. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff over at the store that'll might be interesting to you. And if you're interested in supporting what we do, you can grab stuff over at that store. All right. Well, thanks again for everybody for joining us. I don't see any other comments coming in. Probably missing something here at the end. I'll pet the dog. I'll give him one more cookie, one more little biscuit. More little biscuit. And we'll wrap this one up.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
So thanks again to Roy for that final one there. Oh, and then Ron Wayne again for the super chat. Much appreciated. Give Puppy another biscuit for that super chat. Thanks, Gizzard, for the shout outs each week. Gunswatter for joining us. Sasquatch, got Hillbilly Up. Ozzy, I don't know if I said hey to Ozzy out there. Ron and G23 might have already gone to bed. Every once in a while, G23 will do a show on Saturdays. You can check out his archive of shows, though. I think he's even got an Amazon store that you can check out. And then Darth Smithius was also out there. Oh, Agorizer. And that might be... Oh, Ozzy earlier. I missed this one. He says that the Supreme Court got smushed. They smushed them. Yeah, their assault weapons ban. There's their Supreme Court 4-5. I got the numbers up at the top there. Where were they? Illinois 4-3. So it was fairly split, but split the wrong way. We're not going to win them all, but we'll win more through education than we will through observation. We already did the commercial, so we'll just end it with the Ninja Spoon.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals at gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this